Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Championship Check-In podcast. It is international break, but fear not, we have a still very fully populated show for you tonight. Do get involved in the chat. Say hello, and we'll immediately actually say a big thank you to Jack for the £5 super chat. What a way to start the show. Sam Parkin, have you melted yet?
I thought you were melting there when you didn't say anything when we went live.
But you know what? I had the other screen open and I thought I was just about to put the poll up about Worldie of the Week, and I thought it was going to play on the other screen, and I panicked. Take me out of my panic, Sam.
I've been panicking. I don't know what you talk. I know you don't like small talk, but I was going to say I've been panicking most of the day trying to concoct something to do with toddlers in this heat. Oh my god! You know what I did? Went to a water. I was going to say a water feature. It's very much not a water feature. Some kind of fountain outside the local Sainsbury's, and just took their tops off and let them ride around in their scooters. Desperate measures, my friend. Too hot. Unless you're in a pool or beside a beach, right?
Desperate measures indeed. Now, you may think that we've got nothing to talk about, but Sam, you stepped up to fill the gap, and at 7:30, we will be hearing from
Johnny Eustace. Yeah, our paths crossed when we essentially crossed the divide, because he was playing for Watford and I was playing for Luton Town, and we lived about 100 yards from each other. And yeah, we used to eat out a lot together. There was Matt Sadler there as well, who's now the Walsall manager. John Harley lived in the same development, who's now Portsmouth assistant. So we were, real tight-knit group of mates. And, kept in touch ever since. He actually stayed in my house for a period when I'd moved to the Midlands. So, very fond of him. Always sorted me out QPR tickets. Very, very driven, highly motivated guy. No surprise that he's doing really well. And top man, basically. Dropped him a message in the week. No problem at all. Happy to come on and have a chat. Everything all blues. So here we go.
We're going to hear from him about 7:30. So the plan today is we'll do the normal first half of the show, the review of round 5. There is no round 6 to preview. That's when we'll hear from John Eustace. Again, it's not live. It is pre-recorded, but you can certainly give us your comments as you're hearing to what the Birmingham manager is saying. Sam, this past weekend, feels like a while ago now, it was round 5. I'm having a nightmare with the bloody tech today, aren't I? Dear oh me. If I press that button, does it appear? My God. Let's go with that button. Oh dear. That button. Oh man.
You had
in a minute.
You had it.
I'm having a nightmare. It's going to look a lot better in just a second. I'm going to go through all of the results. I don't know why the nice layout has disappeared. And there indeed it is. My apologies, everybody, this round.
Gone all starry-eyed, haven't you, mate? Talking to Solihull's finest, mate. It's thrown you.
It was Birmingham 1, Millwall 1, and I was at the game for my vlog. Sunderland 5, Southampton 0. But no one had that on their coupon. Swansea 1, Bristol City 2. It was Coventry 3, Watford 3. Ipswich 3, Cardiff 2, coming back from 2-0 down. Leeds 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0. First point for the Wednesday. First defeat for Leicester. Well, first game they haven't won, in fact. Leicester 0, Hull 1. Middlesbrough 0, QPR 2, Wolf. Plymouth 3, Fortress Home Park, Blackburn 0. Rotherham 2, in form, we've been calling them Norwich 1. Stoke City 0, Preston North End 2. They are still our leaders. And Neil Warnock needed a win. He was the cause. In fact, the cause for concern has been doing quite a good job of curing people's ills every week, hasn't it? So it was West Brom 1, Huddersfield 2. And I promise there's going to be no more technical gremlins, because we are going to Parkins Pick. Of all of that lot, Sam, which topic, as Daniel Farker would say and I say every week, which story, which team, which goal, which match do you want to talk about?
I am going for this week, Parkins Pick, Rotherham United.
Rotherham.
Yeah. I was going to say I thought it was probably them or Huddersfield, but I've been doing so much backtracking, so much reversing, haven't I, the last few weeks? Like QPR are terrible, QPR are magnificent. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't get Huddersfield shoehorned in there just yet, even though that was a brilliant win at the Hawthorns. And you know what? I think I caveated it last time on, Ben, and said that it's probably coming for Huddersfield when you look at the chances they've been created and the type of individual goals they've been giving away. But I digress. Rotherham United, 2-1, home victory over Norwich, up and running. And
much needed.
Much needed. I like Matt Taylor. I spoke to him a few years ago about his Exeter City side, and it's something that always stuck in my memory about, I think, attacking a new season, making improvements. And he was really honest and really forthright with his answers on another podcast about how they lacked a little bit of pace and a bit of athleticism in the wide positions. And they come back the following year. I think Randall Williams was one of their main signings at Exeter, and they had a stellar season and improved no end. And I think he is a clever manager. That's not to say that I don't think he's up against it this season. I think the statistics show you that they probably are. Ben, I don't know how much of a stats man you are, but joint worst XG4 in the division, although they have scored in every game. Second highest XG against QPR with the highest. So they need to improve. I think the timings of the goals really helped them here. I know they've been in front in games before, but I think to get that 2-goal cushion and have another opportunity to hang on as they were after Norwich pulled one back, gave them a better fist of winning the game. However, I like the 11. I think that this is, let's not forget, a team that was 3-5-2 for a number of years, that played a particular brand of football, a very successful brand of football under Paul Warne. So Matt Taylor's had to do quite a lot in a short space of time. So it's a new formation, give or take, 4-3-3. I think a really athletic back four, if you look at that. So a back four that can get up the pitch a little bit. Humphreys is your ball player in there, who's got good feet, build in. And then further forward, it starts to get really tasty. That midfield, Teehee, I think, has looked to be a really good signing. Cafu produced a really good assist for Hugo on this day. And Rathbone, that's a really good trio. And then when you look at the front line, Onyedinma, Andre Green, really high pedigree young player a few years ago. I think he'd been off playing in Slovakia.
Somewhere far flung, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. Actually, an ex-teammate of mine was his agent. So, yeah, he was off in Slovakia. And if you can get him going, that's not bad at all. But I just think this is a team that's potentially got the ability and the quality now to play a little bit more football. And I don't think we saw loads of possession at the weekend. I think 37% against Norwich, who have been a bit more counter-attacking this season. But again, I think it's a work in progress. I think it's Matt Taylor who would be a bit bold to change things incredibly quickly at the club. And I think it's been a bit of a slow burner. But yeah, I think the team all of a sudden is looking like a decent outfit. And it was a fantastic goal, wasn't it, from Lembakisa, along with a Hugill tidy finish to get them the maximum points. So yeah, I think there's still going to be some hairy moments, and it's going to be probably a tough season for them. But I thought this was a really, really big win and up and running for the season.
Well, you say about slow burner. So what do you make of the growth of Rotherham? Because I always kind of champion them when people say to me, oh, everybody makes a loss, everybody posts a loss. And I say, no, they don't, because Rotherham have been one that actually aren't prepared to break wage structures. And I think it was 18-19, they got relegated. And I think they might have even made profit that year, obviously saying, look, we're not going to break the bank. If it means we go down, we go down. And they've obviously bounced 3 times. This transfer window, they've broken the transfer record there, which was modest by, championship terms for Sam Nombe and for Tayi, the other new lad. Where are they in their growth? Because there's almost this argument that it's great that they are growing, but if they do it at too slow a rate, they'll still be in that same position where they'll be favourites to go down each time. How do you sort of see that financial sort of bit on the one side and the yo-yoing on the other, and then being sensible as well?
think it's difficult, isn't it? I think the type of profile of manager says to me that it may be a longer term project, and maybe they can invest larger sums if he can stabilise them again. I think we've seen that this summer. I thought it was a huge gamble for Matt Taylor to leave Exeter to go to Rotherham, even
Top of
though
League One at the moment. I mean, that may not stay that way, but I know what you said. It's a cushy number at Exeter. Good job, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course. When you look at the history there with Tisdale and then Matt Taylor for so many years. So I thought it was a huge gamble, but having worked with him, having spoken to him, I think he backs his ability, and I think he was really strong in making that decision. I'm not sure on the financial side, but I think that this is a club that is evolving and probably needs a little bit of time. Like I said, if he came in and changed things too quickly, it could have bad repercussions. So I'm positive about their chances of staying in the division again. And time will tell, I suppose, if they're going to spend bigger funds and going to become more competitive. But to break their transfer record twice in one summer, you'd be optimistic that, things are changing a little bit.
Completely playing devil's advocate, Sam. Survived last year, 2 points deductions below them in terms of that survival. Although there were a few places clear in the end, if memory serves. I think what I'm saying is they almost need a bit of a fair win, don't they? And maybe at least a basket case somewhere to help them just bump them up a position.
Yeah.
As well. That's where I see Rotherham in the hierarchy. Super sensible, but still, have to punch their weight to be as high as possible.
Yeah, and I think you need to take advantage of the home form. I think is imperative. I don't see them winning away from home too often. Nombe will be interesting. Obviously, someone who worked with Matt Taylor before, but I always associated Rotherham, and this isn't just Richard Wood, but it probably is. But I would always associate them probably having that back three, having kind of someone who's just going to head it. I think that they are evolving into a better football team now. The profile of the player in that back four is really exciting. I think he's a good goalkeeper as well. So throughout the side, I know that there isn't enormous depth there, but the signing of Nombe, and let's not forget a number of players to come back into the reckoning that the manager hasn't been able to call upon. I think that would be a valid point for. I know everyone gets injuries, but Matt Taylor has been without a whole plethora of players like Hall and Kelly off the top of my head. So there's quite a few that he's going to be able to reintroduce into the squad in the weeks ahead. Ferguson, another one, a Dauphin. So he's been up against it, I think, to get results in the opening weeks of the season. So this should definitely kickstart them.
There you go. Our Parkins pick, or Sam's Parkins pick this week, Rotherham United, who got their first win 2-1 against Norwich. And we are moving on to the Worldie of the week. So, Beans, I'm absolutely pathetic at tech today, and I can't seem to work any kind of computer or keyboard, Sam. I think the four we'd got it down to were Van Evik for Coventry against Watford, the free kick. Broadhead, the absolute larrup into the centre of the goal for Ipswich against Cardiff. Dazelle, the left foot ping for QPR at Middlesbrough. And Lembikisa, which we kind of just mentioned, which, if you know the way we format this show, probably gives away that it might not be Lembikisa. But let us know who your Worldie of the week is in the comments, because I could set up the blooming poll. Sam Parkin, who have you picked?
Andre Dazelle. I just want to say Jason every time. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, I think this is his fourth career goal. So it's tinted with a little bit of frustration that he doesn't do this more often, because I think, not looking at his track record when he was at Ipswich, and you'll know better than me what type of
I'm
player.
going chapter and verse in a minute on Andre Dazelle after Sam. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I suppose what kind of potential he had when he came to Rangers, and obviously he's become a little bit maligned. I don't know if that's for good reason over the last maybe few months, because QPR haven't been good, and they probably haven't had anyone in midfield capable of doing that much of a threat. So it was most welcome. He's got a lovely left foot. He's got a nice manner about him. But yeah, the performances haven't been particularly convincing of late until very, very recently. So I thought it was an absolutely outstanding strike. I think he probably... Is he aiming there? I think he is.
Looks like it.
I think he's cutting across it, and I think he's aiming for the top left-hand corner, and he found it beautifully. I'd prefer the goalkeeper to dive. You know what I mean, Ben?
He's done, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but it makes it better if the goalkeeper
It's Senny
dives.
Dieng, actually, as well, isn't it? The former,
yeah, of course.
Former team. Sam, did you like as well? Chair draws the two defenders in with a little bit of jiggery pokery. Colback, quick pass. That's what makes the space. And then there's not a lot wrong with the defending. We have been all in on Middlesbrough's defending last week, weren't we? And I think you're right. I think he slices across it. He's meaning to put it in that corner, quite kissing the top of the post and flying in like that. There's always that element of hit it the goal as hard as you can, but it's a hell of a strike, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, aesthetically, the reason I said it looks better when the keeper dives. But no, I thought it was a brilliant goal. I mean, you know how much I love Chair, especially when he's in tandem with Willock or has been in tandem with Willock. I think those two are just an absolute joy. It's a bit like Sunderland, you know, watching their forward line towards the tail end of last season. And of course, on Saturday, when you have all these talented, beautiful footballers rotating, no real set positions. And it feels a bit like that when Chair and Willock are really on song. And of course, it frees up space for other people. And that was the beauty of QPR, if I can digress for a moment, when they were under Mick Beale and he found this system where those two could play so narrow, and Parle on one side and Laird just started the season in ferocious fashion. So QPR, whether he thought that through or just stumbled across it, we'll never know. But Chair and Willock during that period were just poetry. Yeah, that's what you pay to watch, isn't it? And yeah, he freed up the space there. I thought Colback's goal was actually a really good finish in the same game, but I don't think any question that Andre Dizelle is the goal of the week. And why, Ben, has he not fulfilled his potential, or could he still?
Oh, don't. I could go. So if you don't know, Jason Dizelle, Andre's dad, was Ipswich's youngest ever player and goal scorer in the 80s. He was still at school and he came on and he scored. I don't know whether it was, someone will tell me in the chat, it was his debut or I think it was against Coventry, possibly. So you've got that thing of the son of a player who's revered at the club. And if anyone knows or supports a kind of club that's a bit out on a limb, and everyone around Ipswich supports Ipswich, and not many players who come from the area leave and go on to greater things. It's a bit of big fish, small pond type syndrome. And Andre Dizelle comes in and does exactly the same thing. He scored when he was about 17 or 16 or something against Sheffield Wednesday. And we're all like, here we go. And you sort of watched him and his beautiful left foot and, you know, nice balance, head up, all of that. So just looked like a really good footballer immediately. And he had Mick McCarthy as his manager. And of course, we all thought that Mick was playing the pantomime villain and, you know, but it turned out to be right that he just couldn't quite, for all of that quality, just put it together and, you know, do all the parts of the game. And it felt like you would have to devise the whole system around him to protect him in so many ways to get the best out of him. But Sam, if you told me that sort of, I think that was like 2016, perhaps like 6 years ago, you told me he's going to start to find his feet under Gareth Ainsworth at QPR, I'd be... Is this just him coming of age and maturing naturally, or is it something to do with the link up with Ainsworth? I don't know what your take is.
Maybe the trust of the manager. Yeah, it can go a long way, can't it? But, I mean, QPR's performances have been really good for, 3-4 games now? They probably haven't got the points return that they maybe deserve. So something's happened on that training ground. Something's happened within that squad, I would suggest. I probably wouldn't maybe pin it on, you know, what happened in that second half at Watford where they didn't concede, because a 4-0 reverse, however you perform in the second 45 minutes, I don't think you can dress that up any other way than a complete debacle open day of the season. I thought the Cardiff performance probably was the confidence instiller. I thought they were very good in all departments. And I've seen I've still seen it described as a bit of a smash and grab. I don't think that was. I think that was anything but. I thought that was a really good performance to kickstart them. I think we said as much on this podcast. So, yeah, they're probably just all buying in all of a sudden. I don't know what's happened, but yeah, he's certainly one whose performance has improved. Definitely, because that midfield area, I think for so long has been so samey at QPR. So samey. So, yeah, to be able to get Paul Smith and Elias Chair and a couple of other players in there, along with the midfield sitters, if you like, it's been a much better balanced QPR the last few weeks.
And one of my favourite things as well, just to round out the Worldie of the week, when it goes in, Sinclair Armstrong gives a quite funny hold his head reaction as it flies into the top corner. Absolutely,
he's going to be gold, that boy, isn't he? Because you go and watch him, Ben. It's value for money. I mean, he's going to be. Sometimes he'll probably miss from 5 yards with the goal gaping, but then in the same breath, probably go on a marauding 70-yard run, pushing players to one side and smashing it in the corner. He's going to be box office.
Terrifying me for most of the game I saw him play against Ipswich. So, yeah, I think that probably makes you right, Sam. Let's lower the tone as ever. By the way, John Eustace coming up in about 10 minutes for those of you wanting us to speed up and get to the Birmingham City manager. But you can wait your turn because it's cause for concern time. We teased this last week, Sam. You wanted to talk about Swansea, the hire of Mike Duff, and you have an opportunity because they lost at home to Bristol City. They've started badly, and we're agreed on this, but Sam has final say, and he's picked Swansea and Mike Duff as the cause for concern. What is your rationale?
Well, I think we felt it was a must not lose kind of game just to settle the natives, I suppose, last time out against Bristol City. And obviously they've gone under after scoring, I think, first for the third game running, if we're including Bournemouth in the cup. So that's happened 3 on the spin now that they've gone in front, been in commanding positions and thrown it away. So, yeah, I've been concerned about the lack of leadership, probably the lack of experience in the 11. And we don't know the reasoning for it because there is some lads with more games and more experience sitting out at the moment, the likes of Alan, Darling, Jamie Patterson, who could bring that average age up. And I'm not saying that's a necessity. I'm just giving you the facts here. 3 players over 24 in this lineup the other day. Grimes at 28, Norton at 34, and Jerry Yates at 26. So this is a young side. I would say it's probably very different to how Michael Duff has approached it previously. Cue Barnsley fans commenting if they were particularly youthful last year, but I don't think they were. Certainly at Cheltenham, he liked a more rounded squad, more rounded side with probably more games amongst it. That said, Patino and Young Ashby have probably been the bright sparks. Patino certainly, I think, has racked up a few assists. So, yeah, it's a concern the way they are throwing away games. But they've moved in the market. So that's one thing, I suppose. Although 3 left backs, I know some players that can play some different roles, but it looks like 3 guys that can play left back. Bashir Humphreys from Chelsea, who is more of a ball playing centre half. So whether that's going to be Michael Duff actually setting up a little bit more like how Swansea have in the last few seasons, we'll have to wait and see. But I think the biggest concern, and this isn't to say that I don't rate Michael Duff and haven't rated his sides. That's to the contrary. I really have enjoyed watching his teams, but I felt, knowing what I did and having seen his sides, that this is a very different type of manager that Swansea were getting, completely different to what Russell Martin was. So I still have those concerns as to whether it's an appointment made on previous successes of getting Cheltenham promoted and getting Barnsley to the playoff final rather
Sam,
than...
it has to be a reset, doesn't it? You can't watch... I challenge all of our chat who know their football could watch 20 minutes of Mike Duff and 20 minutes of Russ Martin and say, oh, they're going in a different direction. Anyone can kind of make that leap, can't they?
Yeah, I think so. But then I used to cover Swansea a lot under Steve Cooper, and I don't know if the supporters are split, but I would say some of them would say it was relevant success, or it was successful getting them to playoff finals. Others would say that the football was a little bit turgid, and that they went. He's gone and had great success at Nottingham Forest, but they would say that it wasn't particularly enjoyable going to the Liberty during that period. So I think there is a thirst. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's, majority of the fan base. I don't know if it's above. I don't know if it's historically. I think there is a thirst for the football to be good and to be pretty fluent. And they've still got the majority of those players. I think they've got a manager who's probably gone about his success a different way in the last few years. Not to say that he can't evolve, or that he wants to evolve, but I just found it. I think what I'm trying to say is I found it a bit of that's a bit of an odd appointment, and my mind hasn't changed on that. But they've been busy. I think probably the problem right now is they've taken Pirro, they've taken Manning, they've taken Ncham out of the team, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, where is the creativity going to come from? I think Yates is probably capable of getting the ball over the line, but where's the creation going to come from? And that's probably going to fall at the doors of some of the new recruits. I'll have a go at it. Kukherevich, who's coming from France, second tier. Jamal Lowe, obviously back at the club. So, certain degree of optimism that their fortunes could turn around. I don't think it's an amazing window, but I wouldn't be overly concerned right now because we're only a few games in. But it's definitely been an uncomfortable start to the season for anyone of a Swansea persuasion. What do you think?
Is it overly simplistic for me to make the comparison? So you and I studied Barnsley with ITV last year, and we watched them kind of take a little while to get going, and some pretty strident comments about the way they were training and the intensity of some players, and they took the lad Tedic from Man City, and he just wouldn't play him. He said he's not doing what I'm asking him. And then around sort of autumn time, they got going, they started winning, and they were really good, Barnsley, weren't they? And you say it was it's very different. I actually liked it. It's the high pressing, quite direct. Ball goes from back to front quickly. But I enjoyed watching Barnsley last year. Is it too simple for me to say up the division? He hasn't been there before. It's Swansea now. You've got parachute teams in your way, to play against. Is it too simple to argue that could happen this season?
That they could mirror what Barnsley did?
As in, it might take, because that was 15 games or so for that idea to work for Barnsley, wasn't it?
I think it's a valid point. Yeah, definitely. When you look what happened last season, that it was a slow burner, 100%. I'm thinking about the profile of player. Josh Key, I think, has had a pretty good start to the season. Whether he'll remain in that left wing back position, I suppose, would be a question given the business that they've done. Jerry Yates, could he mirror what Devante Cole, James Norwood, Tedic, insert another, his name escapes me. What's the lad who came from Crawley?
Max Watters.
Max Watters, there you go. I think he probably is that similar type of player, isn't he? All action, where they can go back to front to him and he can back in, and he's all action. So, but whether he's got the right partner, I don't know. A lot of it was about the wing backs, wasn't it? Certainly at Cheltenham and at Barnsley.
Long throw-ins as well at Cheltenham.
Yeah. So I don't know if maybe the makeup of that squad is too different, really, to expect them to be able to execute that this season. It may happen in time. I think what we're going to see now is maybe a bit of a mixed match. Mismatch. You know what I mean?
Big thank you, we said at the start of the show, to Jack for the super chat. You can support via super chat. I promise you're going to hear from John Eustace very, very soon. By the way, you can also support now by hitting the join button, and there's all sorts of nice perks, and I'll try and get Parkin involved in some of them, but you can join us on the round table chats, join our illustrious WhatsApp group there, just hit join underneath. We got one more segment, and then we will go to our exclusive interview with Birmingham City manager John Eustace. But There's only one place we can go for our meltdown moment this week, Sam, and I'm going to set this up for you perfectly. You're playing left centre back. You're in the channel. You've got a nice, easy hoof down the line. But your manager, Sam, has told you, no, we're not doing that. We're recycling possession and going back in. And you're going to turn around and you're going to give a lovely, perfect pass back into your goalkeeper, aren't you? Or are you not, Wesley Hoyt of Watford? Take it away, Sam.
Well, he's been closed, isn't he? And he's on his left side. He must have just felt that it was going to be a percentage ball down the line and he was probably going to be dispossessed and maybe present his team with a problem. So he plays blind, doesn't he, on his right foot. Controversial. I'm only going to attribute 80% blame to Wesley. What's the keeper doing as well? What's the keeper doing?
We're going to come to blows on this. The
keeper's desperate lunge is, if this is not too bizarre, is too desperate. I think if he does a couple of little footsteps or moves his feet a little bit, he goes with the.
Sam, I've got to defend the keeper. Can I just?
It's like the keeper going with a wrong. He doesn't expect it. Listen, I know I'm being really harsh. I just think it's a bit of a weird attempt.
When he also telegraphs that he's going to pass it back to him, he actually moves across, but Hoyt belts it towards the near post, doesn't he? Sorry, go on.
He's still got 80%, but honestly, the lunge is peculiar. I'm not going to change my mind on that. And he's gone with his right foot. Like, surely you'd be better trying to wrap your left foot around it. So, yeah, it's comical. It's terrible. The defenders had a stinker, but what was the keeper doing as well?
80. You've got her up. Can you up that to 85?
No, someone agrees with me. Dave, there you go. Our good friend.
There you go. Oh, no, he's not a good friend. He's going to give me difficult questions every week. But yes, it can be no one else. Poor old Wesley Hoyt. Let's just quickly, I know everyone wants to hear from John Eustace, but let's just quickly, I expected Valerian Ismail, and it's quite interesting that we get that player in that position before the season. 100 times out of 100, he is launching that ball into the front. There's going to be a forward and a wing back there, but he's completely changed the way he wants his teams to play now, Ismail, hasn't he? And maybe this is completely symptomatic of that, right?
Yeah, he would have been 30 yards higher up the pitch.
He would.
And the goalkeeper would have been booming it to a square of about 8 Watford players. Fascinating, really. We don't know what.
Why has he done that?
I don't know. It was probably the most bizarre, out there setup that I'd possibly seen since I'd stopped playing. Watching him in his infancy at Barnsley, I thought it was bizarre. I honestly did, and they had obviously amazing results from it in that season. I think it helped that he had a good array of front men where he could just hold the board up, couldn't he, after an hour and whip the three off and change, and you get that same intensity from the forward line. So he's obviously trying something different this season. We'll see how he gets on. I mean, it's been a bit mixed results, hasn't it? Not bad for the new striker to come in and get a brace on the first game, but he'll want him to play down the line next time. I would assure you.
Well, there is the meltdown moment, and the chat is telling us that the main event is not us this week. So, Sam, do you want to set this up? Your old mucker, John Eustace. Go ahead.
Yeah, our paths crossed when we were during our playing careers. He was at Watford. I was at Luton. I probably mentioned this during the interview, but really down to earth guy. Brilliant professional. He was kind of out of favour at Watford when we first met, and worked his way back into the team and went on and had another 5 or 6 years playing at a really good level, really consistent level for Watford and Derby. So we've been in touch since he started his coaching journey. He used to sort me out plenty of tickets for QPR, which was much obliged. And now he's making his way as a number one. And honestly, it was one message, and he was more than happy to come on and have a chat and fill everyone in on the latest goings on at the Blues.
We hope you really, really enjoy this. So Sam and I are going to tap out. We are coming back for the quiz and the Q&A, but we pre-recorded this at about 6 o'clock today. So it is hot off the press and very, very relevant. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy Birmingham City manager John Eustace. Fourth in the table, Manager of the Month nomination. It's gone very, very well. What's pleased you most about this first block of 5 games?
I think the attitude of the boys, really. Obviously, we've had a big turnover of players in the summer, 13 going out, 13 coming in. And just the way they've applied themselves and really bought into what we wanted to do has been fantastic. The attitude towards training is different class, and just lots of hard work has gone into a good start. But there's a hell of a lot of hard work ahead for sure.
Sam?
Usually when you're sitting down in the summer, thinking about how you're going to attack the new season, what were the areas that you really highlighted? I saw a bit of you last year, obviously very solid, defensively very sound. Was it a case of getting a few more creators in the squad, or along with a couple of other things, I'd imagine?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as I say, we've had a big turnaround of players. 13 to go out is huge, and to bring 13 in, the recruitment's been excellent. The backing of the new owners has been sensational. There's a real buzz around the city, around the club, and the new owners they want to turn Birmingham into a giant force of a football club again. Now that's going to take time, but they're really looking to back what we want to do there. And the most important thing for me going forward, as always, is being very solid, being hard to play against, which we were last season. But if we can add good quality now in that final third that we missed last season, hopefully that will lead us in good stead. Again, the signings of Dembele, Tyner Roberts, Jay Stansfield, these kind of players, Oliver Burke, these are all good championship forward players, and you can see already the quality that we've got in the squad is good.
John, with the recruitment, what is the timeline? How does it work when there's going to be a takeover? And we waited like 4 weeks for it to be announced by the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. At what point do you go from essentially what I presume was List A under the previous ownership to List B? And how did that kind of work through from, say, January to the end of this window?
Yeah, well, listen, it happened in the summer. Obviously, as soon as the takeover happened and it was all official, we were back at pre-season. So, we've still in financial fair play restrictions. We still have to be very, very tight with our budget. So, the work that Craig Garner done as the director of football and Frank McParland, as the head of recruitment, it's been sensational, really. So, the work they've put in over the last 2 months has been great. And, we've been very fortunate that all the targets that they've gone for have all wanted to come to the club. They can see what's happening at the football club at the moment. And, as I say, the football club itself is in a real good place with the new owners coming in.
Eustace, knowing you like I did back in the day for the viewers when I was at Luton and you were at Watford, one of the most unassuming, consummate professionals that I came across. So I have been amused seeing Tom Brady come in and become a part of it, because I just think the contrast between you two. Please tell me you've been for like an amazing dinner with him or something like that, or on a yacht or something. I know you're about 200 miles from the sea, but you know what I mean.
No, listen, I think it just shows the statement of intent from the owners to get somebody of Tom Brady, his class and stature in sport, to come and even chat to the boys was an awesome day. He came in before the Leeds game, had a chat with the group, told us what he expected, what he wanted, and it was surreal, really. So to get him part of the club is brilliant and can only be good going forward.
Was it hard to get the players to pull focus after because you don't want them thinking about Tom Brady to be fair, you won the game against Leeds, didn't you? But you don't want them thinking about this megastar they've just met, as you're trying to give your last instructions, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, listen, he came, we were going into our pre-match meeting at 1:30. He came in about 1:15. The lads are all starstruck. They're all big NFL fans. So just to have him in there, so as I say, someone of his stature in sport, I think, it gave the players a bit of a lift as well. Not that we needed it for the game, but again, just to show him what they could do and be part of a special day. I think it helped. And as I say, it was pretty surreal, but it was great. It was a great afternoon.
Along with the improved squad and everything else that's going on at the club, Eustace, I mean, you know it really well there. I know how passionate that support base and how big the club and it could be. How important was it to start improving the ground and stuff like that? Because it feels like there's been a bit of a apathy from the supporters towards the club prior to you getting there.
Yeah, when I came into the job 14 months ago now, I wanted to get that connection back with the players and the fans, and we did that. Now with the new owners coming in, it's about being one and the football club being connected with the fans again, and you can really feel and see that the work that they've put in the stadium, laid a new pitch, the work around the stadium has been awesome, the new training ground, so they really care. They really care about this football club, and they want to make it huge. And they know that there's a lot of hard work that has to be put into the club, and they're doing it. They're spending a lot of money in the right areas and making it a real football club again.
John, do you subscribe to the view that the level of the Championship this year is at a fair high? We've obviously had COVID and, like you said, the impact of the FFP rules, and two of the parachute teams didn't go up last year. 3 good ones have come down. Obviously, then you've got Plymouth and Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday, big clubs and clubs with momentum. Do you agree that it got much harder this year?
I think so. I mean, listen, I've been in the Championship for 20 years, and the Championship is the most difficult league in Europe for sure. And until you're in it week in, week out, you probably don't even realise that. And it doesn't matter what year it is. This Championship is ruthless and it's relentless. And the top teams can beat anyone and the bottom teams can beat anyone on their day. So, it's just important that us as a football club, we go about our business in the right way. We're competitive in every game we play. And, we try and keep that togetherness. And up to now and all of last season, we've done that. And we just want to build in the right way and, see where it takes us.
There was obviously a bit of speculation when you were working at QPR, other than the obvious geographical plus. Why was Birmingham the one? Because there were some big clubs and big clubs that obviously had problems maybe above the surface, like Birmingham as well. But why was this the one that you wanted to really have a crack at?
Yeah, because I'm from Birmingham. I'm a Birmingham lad. I know what it means to the people of the city, the community, and, I've got lots of Birmingham fans in my family. And, you're right. Sammy, I had some really good options throughout my time at QPR to move to some fantastic Championship clubs, and Birmingham just stood out. I know the potential of this football club, and given the right resources and the right backing, which we've certainly got now, this club can go as far as it wants with the fan base we've got. So I want to be part of that going forward. I want to help rebuild this fantastic football club, and it's not going to be done in the short term. It's got to be done over a 2, 3, 4 year period and done properly. And I want to be part of that.
I want you to break the mold here. When we knew each other, like back in the day, when we were both still playing, did you know, because I know you were going through a difficult time at Watford, if memory serves me right, and you forced your way in, you become captain for a number of years, then went off to Derby, did the same. Did you know around then, late 20s, early 30s or whatever it was, that you were going to be a manager?
No, but what I did know is that I enjoyed helping players around me. I enjoyed seeing the younger players develop. I had a natural responsibility as being a senior player in the team to help that, at Watford, especially near the end, and at Derby we had some fantastic young players coming into the both clubs, and I really enjoyed working with them and helping them on the pitch. So it came natural for me to help lead and coach, and I was very fortunate when I left Derby, when I had to retire, that I was given an opportunity to go and manage at full-time level at Kidderminster. Yes, it was in the Conference North, but it was still a full-time opportunity. We were in every day. I had great facilities there. So, that gave me the opportunity to really give it a crack. There was still the same pressures. There's still 2,000 fans there every week. The players still had big egos. The only difference was the wages were a bit lower, and but they're just as much trouble than what they are now. So no, it was just a natural progression really, and one that I really enjoy, and I really enjoy seeing the players and the staff around me develop and get better.
John, part of the good start, you've won with late goals against Leeds and against Plymouth, and both scored by players you popped in as substitutes. Are you were they pre-planned subs, or was that off the cuff? And can you tell us how you ended up in with the fans after the goal against Plymouth?
Yeah, no, listen, football's an emotional game, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? To score a last-minute winner and the manner that young Jay scored it was sensational, really. And I got carried away a little bit after the goal went in. But I'm passionate, and I love the game, and it was a big win for us. It's always about the squad, and last season the squad we had at the club were very, very good. And everyone was needed. Everyone was just as important as everyone else. And this season now, with the new group that we've got, we've got 22, 23 players. And I know that throughout the course of 46 games, every one of them is going to be needed. And no matter if you're on the bench, if you're starting, if you're not, if you're in the stands, everyone is just as important. And we've got plans if we're chasing games, if we're winning games, and everyone knows they've got a huge responsibility whenever on that pitch. And I'm very fortunate to have a real fantastic group of players.
Usually, having not done it myself, how important were those years at Kidderminster in terms of like the in-game changes and the in-game management when you're on the touchline? Because I always look from the outside and think there can be no substitute for experience, because once you've got a few years under your belt, you'll see the patterns developing and how you can affect the game from the touchline. Do you look back at that and think that kept you in good stead, or put you in good stead? Yeah,
definitely. Listen, it was the best grounding, the best experience that I could have asked for. You're managing up, you're managing down. You're in charge of budgets. You're in charge of a group of 20 players, which I'd never been in charge of before. They've all got different emotions. You have to set up different game plans against different, very difficult teams. The level in the National League is very good. There's some very, very good players there, some very good coaches as well. So it was very difficult, and the experience that I got from that will leave me in good stead going forward for sure. It was better than me going into another 23s level and coaching there. It was better than me going into an academy and coaching there. I was thrown into the deep end, and I really enjoyed the experience there. It's a fantastic football club.
How was your, I suppose, mentality going in at QPR then and becoming a first team coach again? Did you get frustrated ever, like on the touch? I know you're working with brilliant managers, don't get me wrong, but did you ever think like, I'm ready, or tactically you could see something chomping at the bit to get involved?
Yeah, no, never at all. It's all part of my development and my learning. I didn't want it too quickly. It's about getting great experiences. I had a fantastic opportunity to work with Steve McLaren, who's a top manager, and I'd be a fool not to have gone and worked with him. And we had, although it was only a year, it was a real good year for myself. And one I thoroughly enjoyed. I learned so much from him. And then obviously Mark coming in after Steve, again, great experience, worked at some fantastic clubs. And again, just listening, taking things from them, giving my input. Both of Mark and Steve were very open to my ideas, which I was very fortunate of as well. But, it was just a great experience. That 4 or 5 years I had at QPR, again, has helped me going forward.
All from you, Sam?
Yeah.
I was just, John, just to finish with, I was just going to ask about loan players, because we've seen Middlesbrough, who are pretty much where you are now, built around a few loan players. I think you've got 4. Is that right? How hard is it? I know it seems to be a necessity with the kind of spending rules to have loan players. How hard is that to manage?
I've found it very easy to manage. We were very fortunate last year. We got 6 loans in at one point last year. Obviously, we can only use 5, but we got 6 in, and they were part of the family. Although they come with a loan tag, anyone who comes into the environment at Birmingham knows that it doesn't matter if they're on loan or not. They're very, very important to this group, and to see them loan players improve and go on, the likes of Hannibal, Austin Trusty, them kind of players, that they've really benefited from the experience that they had at Birmingham, but the way they applied themselves as well was second to none. And we've got 4 good loans in now, and they're exactly the same. Their job is to come in, develop, help the group, but be just as important as anyone else. And I think that's the key to it.
How do you sorry, Ben, how do you attack like an international break so early, Eustace? Is it nice to have a little break and I suppose try and integrate a few of the newer players, or is it that momentum that you're maybe losing, considering you've had such a great start?
No, it's important that we get a break. We've had a lot of games. The squad, we've signed players who need fitness. A lot of the signing, 3 or 4 of our signings are injured at the moment, so it gives us time to get them back up to speed as well. So the breaks come at a good time for us. We were very short going into the Plymouth and the last game. Who did we play last time? Millwall.
I was there, John.
So we were very short in them teams, and so it's important that we get 4 or 5 of our new signings back and part of the squad, allowing us to kick on again. When we come back after the international break, we've got 3 games in 6 days. 2 really tough away games on the Saturday at Watford and Tuesday at Preston. And then we have QPR at home on the Friday. So, as I say, the Championship's relentless and there's no time for rest. So it's important that these 2 weeks now we can get some of our players back to help in them games.
So, John, you're pre-recorded. We'll be going out live tonight and there'll be loads of Birmingham fans. Would you believe it? The Birmingham fans are happy bunch at the moment. I'll let Sam say goodbye to you probably in a minute. But have you just got a message for the Blues fans watching live?
Yeah, listen, thanks ever so much for your support since I've been at the football club. The football club's a real special club to me, and I want to help build this football club to get it back to where it should be, and everyone knows where that should be, but it's going to take time. But with the support, the support that we've got at the club is absolutely outstanding, and that's helped us throughout the last 12 months, and it's going to get us through the next 12 months.
Brilliant, mate. Thanks so much for coming on. Best of luck for the rest of the Super Hoops, of course.
No problem, Sparky.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate. Cheers, Benjamin.
You, Steve. Thanks ever so much, mate.
Thanks, bud. There we go. John Eustace, Birmingham City manager. Rather large elephant in the room today, obviously, because we booked this and we are completely aware of all the reports you might have read and heard on Twitter today. And John still came on. I've got Sam's back here. Sam is a friend of John, so they're obviously certain things for us to have asked would have been completely disrespectful when he's given up his time. Hopefully, because my phone's just gone into meltdown over the last 15 minutes. Hopefully that question at the end and the addressing of the Birmingham fans will satiate that elephant in the room and the 1,500 tweets I just got, Sam. But give us your feedback in the chat. And Sam, what's your reaction to John Eustace's comments?
Well, I think he's doing a brilliant job. And I think, when I spoke about those other couple of clubs, I think that were named that were really interested for him, he turned them down for a reason. And he felt that Birmingham was the right step for his career. And he's clearly really passionate to be working. I know he's done a lot of commuting in the last couple of decades. So to be, working for one of 2 biggest clubs in that area, it's amazing for him. And of course, he's not going to talk about someone else's job. That's not the way anyone in this industry works. But I think he kind of gave a bit of good insight there with his message to the Blue supporters. He's really happy at the moment. He's not someone I speak to regularly, but he's loving life. And that was the most animated I'd seen him. That goal that you referenced was against Plymouth. Seriously, and it cropped up a couple of times during the interview. He's a very, very calm and measured type of guy. So to see that on the touchline, it said to me that he is thoroughly enjoying what's happening at that club at the moment. And do you know what? With Tom Brady and the potential that's there, I'm not suggesting that Tom Brady's, putting bundles of his own dosh in right now as we're speaking, but you know what I mean? There's things happening, isn't it? And he's a local boy, so he's onto a good thing, isn't he?
You can talk to us more about that John Eustace interview. And Sam, from me to you, just a huge thank you for setting that up. That's why you're here and that extra layer of credibility you bring, let alone an actual Championship manager on the show, is just mind-blowing for a slightly gobby football fan like me. So huge thank you. We'll go to the Q&A at the end of the show, and anyone can ask Sam any more detail about that. But first, it's time for the week that was. Right. Get involved. It's quiz time. A few people did get, I think there was one person who got both questions right last time. we get our questions every week from Fev's Football Analytics. You can follow him on Twitter. I think it's at Fev's. Let me just click on his profile at Fev's Football and give him abuse or for these horrible questions or ideas for other questions. Did he ask you heads or tails when he texted you this week, Sam?
No, he didn't know.
So basically, I've got the choice then of the two questions. So I've probably chosen the wrong one. Do you want to ask or answer first this week, Sam?
I'd like to answer first, if that's all right.
Okay, right. Get involved in the comments. Sam Parkin is not going to cheat.
I do this subconsciously every week, by the way, because I've given you one of your answers already during our conversation earlier. I do it every week.
And I still lose.
No, you do. Yeah, go on.
Coniston, thank you. To New Zealand dollars, I think, on the super chat. Thank you for all the super chats today. So this is round the block. There are 5 current championship managers who have managed 3 or more current championship teams in the past. How many of those 5 managers can you name, Sam, that have managed 3 or more championship clubs in the past?
I'm going to go completely blank here, aren't I? I've got 2, I think, off the bat. Who's that there? Oh, yeah, him. So could the current job they've been in be a championship?
No, in the past.
Okay.
I'll give you a bit more time. Have a go in the comments.
Yeah, give me a little bit more time.
Some of the answers.
I got 2 there. I'm not going to look
There
at
are 5 current championship managers who have managed 3 or more current championship teams. Name the managers.
Right, shall I give you the 2 while I stall, yeah?
Yes.
2 I've got Warnock.
Neil Warnock has managed 7 championship teams.
And my other one, straight off the bat, would be Gary Rowett.
Gary Rowett has only managed 2 in the past, as in Birmingham and
surely Pearson.
Pearson, yes, 5. Let me just read these out. West Brom, Southampton, Leicester, Hull and Watford. Pearson has managed in the past. Warnock had managed 7 in the past. Huddersfield Town, obviously in the past, and he's managing them now as well. Plymouth, QPR, Leeds, Rotherham, Cardiff and Borough.
Yeah, so Alex Neil would be 4, wouldn't it?
Alex Neil is correct. Norwich, Preston and Sunderland.
How many more do I need?
I think you need 2.
Mowbray?
Yes. What's going on? Ipswich. That was obviously only caretaker. West Brom, Middlesbrough, Coventry and Blackburn.
One more, yeah.
I want to help you.
Oh, he's not done another one. Has he been there too long?
What were you just going to say?
Just to hurry up the proceedings, I'll go Mark Robbins.
Yes! That is astonishing. So you got 5 out of 5, so there's no chance I'm going to beat you this week. Did anyone get them all? I think Annie has got most of them there in the chat. What actually has Matty got? He's got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think he's got all of them. There you go.
To be fair, in future you've got to lock in though, right? So
yeah.
I probably would have locked in Rowett. So in the future we'll get a little bit tighter on that because I give you 6 answers, didn't I?
It was a bit sneaky wording though, wasn't it? Managed in the past, obviously. So
I'm not sure what degree it is, but you need some form of degree, which I haven't got for Feb's questions, right? Yeah, you need some kind of PhD. Yeah.
Right. After my question, we'll go to the Q&A segment, and you can ask me or Sam anything you want.
This is tremendous. It needs its own little theme tune. So
do you want me to just play the week that was one again?
No. It would have been so much easier had I briefed you on this. It's family fortune, so we could have had, the little, we could have had Les Dennis. We could have had Les Dennis pop up, not Les Dawson. Although
Les Dawson was a great piano player.
I was a big fan of his work. Big fan of his work. Blankety blank, wasn't it? Tremendous.
How have we got here?
Oh, Les Dawson. Right. Okay. We know where this is going. There were 5 players last weekend who either scored or assisted whose fathers scored in the EFL also.
5.
Name them.
Jay Stansfield.
Correct.
For sure. Am I allowed to look at the fixtures?
Absolutely not.
Okay, right. Let me get off the other screen. Right, who else played? So Hugh Gill, Lembakisa in that game. Who scored for Norwich? I can't even remember. Who scored for Ipswich? Broadhead. Oh, Andre Dazelle
Correct?
is 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who scored the other Ipswich goal? I can't even remember. Freddie Ladapo, Aaron Ramsey for Cardiff, Joe Rules. Don't think their fathers played.
One of the answers is very gettable. One of the goal scorers is very gettable. The other goal scorer is quite tricky, although I played against his dad a lot. And then there's one assist chucked in there, who is probably one of the most obvious son-ofs, but an assist is an assist, isn't it? You probably won't recall it.
Oh, man. Preston, Will Keane scored, didn't he? No. Oh, Rory Delap, Liam Delap. Yes.
Yeah, that was the gettable one. The other one,
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Sunderland, Chris Rigg, Bradley Dack.
Well, you're going to go straight in there with Chris Riggott, some kind of
Chris Riggott. He's Chris Rigg's dad. You heard it here first. Ryan Hardy, Finnazaz, Kundal.
Josh M is trolling you on the comments.
I'm not. I've closed the comments, so I can't see him. Is Josh M right?
He's right, and he said it's the easy one. It's the obvious one, according to him.
Oh, dude. Try and see
and Josh M likes a pint of cider.
Cider, Plymouth.
No.
Bristol City. Sykes and Bell.
Yeah, correct. His old man, my kind of era. Well, he was a bit older than me, but
I think I've still missed one, but I've taken way too long.
Yeah, so your sister would be Tom Ince, makes up the 5.
Oh, and his dad's probably the best player out of all of them we just spoken about, right? Isn't he?
Yeah, but hard to keep an assist in your noggin, isn't it? Unless it's a blinder.
Especially under the pressure. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Fev. And go and follow him at Fev's Football. Cider, and your obvious thought is Plymouth. Plymouth are literally called the Cider Army, aren't they? I remember Jamie Mackey chanting Cider Army in my face several times last season when Plymouth were staying above Ipswich for the rest of the season. 5-4 to Sam. Sam goes 3-2 up. There we go. Right, we are going to Q&A. Get your questions in now. International break, transfer window, round 5. John Eustace, anything you want to ask us, we'll go to right now for the Q&A. Right, quick plug. Do hit the thumbs up button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. You can join if you click the button below there. What else was I going to plug? Yeah, do download on the podcast feeds as well. Right, it was going to come straight away, wasn't it? So we'll face it head on. Jack, what are your opinions of Wayne Rooney as a manager? Interested to see if it's similar to the majority of Blues fans. Forget Birmingham for a second, because the question is, what do I think of Wayne Rooney as a manager? Better than I thought he was going to be, actually. He was quite a sort of temperamental player and an emotional player, wasn't he? And seemed quite a calm manager. I think he did a good job under the circumstances at Derby with absolute chaos. Lots of people do the old credit in the assistant, don't they, with Liam Rossini? But I liked him, and I think we will see him back at some point. I know he's working out in the States at the moment, but that is I'm not giving any in the know knowledge or anything there. What's your take, Sam?
Yeah, I think you strip it all back. He came across with a lot of humility, I think, in the early months and however long it was in his time at Derby. I think, reading between the lines, that he was a little bit more of a manager who came alive on a match day. And Liam Rossini was doing a lot of the stuff on the training ground. And I was really impressed with them. It's not to everyone's taste, but I thought there was some quite interesting tactical quirks within that Derby setup. So I quite enjoyed watching them. I was quite surprised. I didn't probably have Wayne Rooney down as a innovative, tactical kind of was going to say brain there, but he was an incredible footballer, wasn't he? And, incredibly quick thinking as a footballer. So, yeah, maybe it's strange why I didn't initially feel that he was going to be that way as a manager. But I think some of that was down to Liam. But I think it's been an interesting path that he's taken. I think he'll get another opportunity and we'll probably learn more. We'll probably learn more about him when he takes a gig, when he hasn't got someone alongside him who's probably, got those ideas that Liam Rossini had.
Wilco, best piece of business this transfer window. I can't think of an individual transfer, Sam, but I did a 5-star grading for everyone. And not just because we've just spoken to him, but I had Birmingham and Coventry as my 2 favourite transfer windows. Would you concur with that? Or is there a player you like that's come for a fee you like?
I think Southampton did good business, and I know that's ridiculous given that they've just been spanked 5-0 at Sunderland. But I think Harwood Bellis was probably a necessity given the way that they're going to play and how poorly they've defended at times this season. I think Flynn Downs as a replica for Grimes as an addition to Smallbone is pretty high level. And to add some options in the wide positions and to keep hold of Armstrong and Che Adams. Am I forgetting someone else? Feels like I am. They didn't get Pirro, did they? But I think that's a pretty good window when they're all firing and going. I still don't love the goalkeeper. I don't know where you are on that with Bazunu. I think he could have done better, certainly, with 1 or 2 of the goals at Sunderland. But that was a good window. I'm intrigued to see how... Sorry, I'm going pretty high end here, but I'm intrigued to see how Cannon does at Leicester, because it's a pretty interesting...
Feels like a high price, doesn't it?
It feels like a high price, but it's a fascinating story. I mean, Peter Risdale's done an interview, I think, with the local press in Preston or Lancashire Post or whatever it is in the last 24 hours. And it's really intriguing, actually, the way that they thought they had their man right towards the tail end of the window. And it was actually a phone call from him to Risdale or to Ryan Lowe to say, do you know what? Leicester have come in and I'm going to go there. So, yeah, I think that's really interesting to see how that goes. He could, I suppose, add the gloss to some of the good football and maybe give them that little buffer in games that they've been searching for when they've been just getting over the line in some matches. So, yeah, those 2. Let me have a look at the league table. Ben, have you got anyone else?
No, I think you've covered it, Sam. There's an interesting one here that just popped up about Preston that I think you might enjoy answering. So, from Isaac, in terms of Preston's success, how much do you put it to Lowe's tactics compared to squad quality? I would throw in continuity and stability across season A to season B as well. But what do you think?
I don't know how Ryan Lowe stumbled across or how he's put together this ridiculously solid rear guard, because I just look at him historically as a manager. I know we're still talking about a relatively young manager, but someone whose teams were so easy on the eye. Yes, it was invariably 3-5-2, I think, at the start at Bury. And I think that followed him to Plymouth Argyle in the main. But watching them last season, I just couldn't believe how difficult to breach they were to play through. I don't think that would be at the forefront of Ryan Lowe's mind when he's putting together a team, but he's got that. He's got that solid foundation. So I just do believe that it's adding more creativity, probably better offensive wing backs. I think that's been... I wanted to ask John Eustace about it because I think that's something that's held Birmingham back. I've said that before on the podcast, and I still think that Preston are immaculate in that area. Still can improve there. But we spoke about the new signing from Denmark. Ben Whiteman's one of the best players in the division, I think, on his day and could still grow. So I think Keane's looking like a really good signing. I think he's a good manager. So I think he's maybe stumbled across this defensive solidity somewhat. If he can add the creative forces and make them a little bit easier on the eye, because I think they've been tough to watch at times over the last year, then they've got a chance this year. They've got a chance. But I think it's still not fully Ryan Lowe's team. And that's strange, given he's been there a while now. But I think we're going to see more of what he would like to see his attacking team look like, a Ryan Lowe attacking team look like over the next few months now that he's got better players.
Look forward to seeing that. What does a pundit like Sam do if not doing TV or radio during international break? Do you just relax for the break or go to take in a League One, Two or lower league game? I think it's soft play, pub, golf course, work in a circle, isn't it?
Well, normally I would really come to the fore. So if there's any broadcasters listening that are covering League One and League Two games, I am still available. Normally I have worked over the international breaks because obviously I've been quite across League One and League Two and therefore picked up quite a bit of work over the last few years with Sky or with ITV, obviously, but not this window, unfortunately, this international break. So I am going for a jolly on Saturday with some of my oldest mates, which I'm really looking forward to because I was going to work and I thought, you know what, it's been a pretty unrelenting start to the season. I've got young children. And my other half is off for a holiday next week for 5 days and leaving me with my children alone. So I'm going to the South Coast with some friends to enjoy some light ales at the weekend. Yeah.
Well deserved light ales. You're going to give a really good answer to this because you've played in both, haven't you? Where do you both stand on the comparison Championship and Scottish Premier League?
Well, very difficult, because I would say that the standard would vary probably from Old Firm fans turn away here, but probably from somewhere in the Premier League, maybe the bottom half of the Premier League to League Two, I would say. The teams vary in quality. I wouldn't say it's Championship level. I think that some of the teams. Listen, I'm not across the SPL at the moment. It may have evolved in the last 10 years since I was up there, but I would say the majority of the teams when I was there wouldn't be a match for Championship teams. I think the Championship's a stronger league. Probably take the Old Firm out of it, who, because of the financial resources, because of the fan bases, would evolve and would grow, wouldn't they, in time if they were ever to play in the English league or if that was ever to be a proposition. So, yeah, they would be able to compete, but I would say that the rest of the teams are probably somewhere in League One, maybe, or the bottom end of the Championship. I think the Championship's a stronger league, probably.
Alex, how long do Middlesbrough stick with Carrick if the form doesn't pick up soon, despite what he did last season? So I'm glad he added that bit on at the end. Obviously, playoff semi-finalists last season. Steve Gibson's not a quick trigger-happy sack, although he did take Warnock out pretty unceremoniously, didn't he? And do you remember as well when Carrick came, Sam, it was delayed like 2 weeks. Well, they gave him exactly the staff he wanted as well. So I would suspect they're really, really not going to want to be taking him out there and hoping that's going to turn. I see him lasting there. I don't know what your take is. Just a quick one there. Thank you, Jack, so much. £20 on the super chat. Really, really kind, Jack. Thank you for your support. Sam, Michael Carrick.
I think it feels to me like it's far too soon. I think he's trying to bed in new players that have come from a lesser level again. Obviously, the striker who's come from Swiss football, a fullback that's come from Danish football. Silvera has been better the last couple of games. And I think he's probably at a stage now where he's going to have to rethink the tactical setup. That's my hunch on it. Last year, whether it came from player or from manager or a combination of the two, he found Akpom to play number 10. Whatever went on there, we don't know. But that was just such a unique setup and so beautiful to watch, so effective. I had the numbers scribbled down. I don't know where they've gone, but essentially they've lost 40 goals with Akpom, Archer, Ramsey, Giles, and 20 odd assists. Sometimes I think it's simplistic enough in football that you've lost your best players, but within that you've lost a tactical setup that was so unique to Middlesbrough last year because of Akpom and Akpom only. Maybe with a tinge of the little overs with Archer, the relationship that developed between those two. But if you haven't got someone who can go any way to replace an Akpom in that number 10 position, maybe he's going to have to look at something else. 4-3-3's become really on vogue again. And what that does is maybe get Lewis O'Brien into midfield, Ben, somewhere along the line. And then you could have Barlasser, the passer, Hackney, the player that can wriggle out of tight spots. And you've got a midfield enforcer. I'm just thinking out loud here, but I think maybe the time has come because if you're putting all that pressure and you're setting your team up to play for a number 10 and you haven't got someone to give you anywhere near those numbers, maybe a tactical tweak or two.
Riley McGree off the bench as well, maybe.
Yeah, but if you look at the numbers again, sorry, I don't have but last week I reeled it off. They faced something. They've had like 15 or 16 shots on their target, right? So shots on their target, and they've conceded 11 goals, I think it is, and they've had 25 shots on goal and scored 3. So they're making chances. I think that Latte Lath has had 12 attempts.
Already?
He had 6 attempts against QPR. Yes, he's missing chances, but I'll tell you for nothing, if I'm not getting chance, when I was in a bad spell as a striker, I'm not even having a shot because you're probably trying too hard or you're hiding. Honestly, if you're a striker who's having a terrible time and you can't trap a bag of cement, if the ball's looking like a golf ball when it's coming into you, why all of a sudden are you going to put yourself in goal scoring positions if you're not in that frame of mind? Honestly, sometimes it can be that simple. So if I'm a Middlesbrough fan and I'm looking at him spurning a few chances and I look at his track record, and it's not always been immaculate, don't get me wrong, in goal scoring stakes, but he'll start putting the ball in the back of the net if he's having 6 attempts every game. I always wanted to go and have 3 attempps. That's what a manager when I was a kid said to me, go and have 3 shots on the goal today. And then after the game, how many shots did you have? Oh, I had, it's not enough. So I'd be quietly optimistic that things will turn for Middlesbrough if they stick with Michael Carrick.
Is that your end or mine?
It's my end. It's not my roof, thankfully. So I close my window. Could be my car.
We normally get the Gary boys riding around here, setting all the car alarms off. But there you go, guys. Amazing support tonight. I will leave the chat there. I'm sorry if your question didn't get. Send me a tweet and say I never answer your questions, and I'll make sure we do next time. Sam, brilliant show today. We'll clip up the John Eustace bits and pop that out tomorrow. We'll stick some clips in as well. Make sure you hit like and whatnot before you go. You're not going to hear Sam on TalkSport until next week because he's off on a jolly down south. But we will be back next Thursday, and it will be, well, we'll have to figure something for that show because we'll only have the preview part there as well. Let us know your ideas and whatnot. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Last word from you, Sam?
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it. And yeah, great to hear from John Eustace. It is herding sheep sometimes getting a guest of that calibre. So it was absolutely brilliant to get him. He's been a great job, and I hope everyone enjoyed the insight.
Amazing stuff. See you next week on the Championship Check-In podcast.